So I'm Taylor Martin. I am the operations manager for Beyond Housing. It was called Meadow Homes, and we'll get into that. Just as a way of introduction, I grew up in St. Jacobs and attend Elvira Mennonite Church, which is where I grew up as well. And when we're talking about how God leads us and that kind of thing, I started out, I did a degree in environmental studies, but didn't quite find my path in that direction, and found God was calling me somewhere else. I went back to school and worked on a master's degree at Conrad Grebel in theology. Thought I might become a pastor, but felt called to be more involved with people in a different way. And so I did an internship when I was in my Master's of Theological Studies at House of Friendship, where I had always had some interest and curiosity, and that led me to end up working at House of Friendship for about 7 years in their supportive housing program. And after that, I got my degree eventually finished. I kind of started that degree and then ended up doing an internship, and kind of opportunities opened up at House of Friendship, so I did that for a while and worked in my degree course by course. And then God led me to Lutherwood, to their Housing Resource Center, which is downtown Kitchener, and one in Galt as well. And worked there for about 10 years supporting people that were being evicted or becoming homeless or were in shelters, in looking for housing, figuring out how to manage their housing situations. And had always been curious, interested in Meadow Homes and Beyond Housing. And an opportunity finally arose to move forward in that direction, back with actual housing and buildings, not just, but with people now, more with bigger management of housing, that kind of thing. And so God leads in mysterious ways. You never know where you're going to end up. And, so I just tell you that as a way of introduction. And Beyond Housing, we started out as Meadow Homes in 2001. An idea from Martin Buer, who was the executive director of House of Friendship, and said we need to do more housing. You could see the need for that. And so in 2001 we got started, and that led to a number of projects. But over to where I want to go with this is we ended up changing our name just recently in the last year or two. I just started about a year ago, so it's all been Beyond Housing for the most part. We're still officially Meadow Homes according to the government, but we're in the process of making some changes. So we are operating as Beyond Housing. So why the change, you might ask? We had worked as Meadow Homes for a number of years, and started out as some Mennonites that were really interested in this. Some Mennonite churches had supported us broadly, and that was good. And we were able to house people and create housing for people with lower incomes, and that was a good start. But we found, even from the beginning, our first project was, this was the logo that was created initially, Meadow Homes. And eventually it led to a more formal logo, Meadow Homes, a response to the need for affordable housing. And so that allowed us to have a mandate, what we wanted to do, and what people could know what we're doing. But our first project was actually through the Lutheran Church had land on Village Road in Kitchener, one of the Lutheran churches. So this is the first board on the left with Martin Buer, meeting under a tree. It was very, I guess, informal. And this was the last board. We had a few members change now, but that was one of the many Zoom meetings that had happened over the last few years, which some are still continuing because it's hard to get people together in one place that have busy lives and want to be involved. So One of the things that guides us is our values. Values, housing as a human right, equity, integrity and respect. We do accountability and sustainability, collaboration and community, creativity and innovation. So these are all things that are in our minds. This is where we are now, beyond housing, creating a place to call home, because everybody deserves a place to call home and to be at home. So what does this mean to go beyond housing? I don't know if you can read this as well or not, but basically we have a few ways in which we felt this name suited what we're trying to do. We build better, so we build buildings that are 40 to 50% more energy efficient than the minimum requirements. So it's good for both the environment and for tenants paying heat and electricity, air conditioning costs. So it makes sense both ways. We are also going beyond by supporting tenants. We are committed to tenants' well-being. We have a community support worker and a community nurse that we employ among some of our buildings, and that allows tenants some extra supports. Now, we're not considered supportive housing. We are primarily providing housing. We just have a little bit of extra support because, anywhere you live, people could use extra support, right? Doesn't matter which apartment building or which neighborhood you're in. So our community nurse is shown there in the middle, checking someone's blood pressure. So in our seniors buildings, she does some of blood pressure, diabetes check-ins, but ends up spending a lot of time with folks in terms of mental health, which is, especially in the last number of years, we all know has become a bigger concern for people since the pandemic. So people can come to her when she's available on site and meet with her and talk about how things are going with them, maybe their anxieties, maybe a diagnosis, and both their physical and mental health. She's a system navigator as well. She'll help people make sure that they access the supports that they need and that they're connected. Our community support worker, Sue, provides a different type of support. She will meet with tenants individually to help them with their goals, see what they want to work towards and kind of support them in that. And she also will connect them to outside resources to achieve those goals, whether that's other agencies that have supports like Meals on Wheels or other things like that, or whether it's the recreation programs that are available. She even does have, I think, a chair yoga or something like that program as well at one of the seniors buildings, and then also does some community events to get people out together, to have coffee, to have some fun together. We also, going beyond, supporting tenants, we do have more accessible barrier-free apartments that are required by sort of legend rules that we need to follow, which allows people with disabilities to continue to live independently with in their own agency. In terms of financial sustainability, we go beyond in that our grants and donations cover a lot of the cost of building a new building, and when we take out a mortgage, then the rent that we're collecting will pay the mortgage off and also the operating expenses of each site. So every time we build, we're not collecting donations for all the past things, we're collecting donations for the new project. And each project is then self-sustaining going forward. So those are ways in which we go beyond just housing. We're trying to do more. This is a picture of the housing continuum. On the left side, you might see the red is homelessness, and yellow is emergency shelter, transitional housing, and then you see supportive housing is the gray, and in the middle there is the sort of baby blue. That is affordable rental housing. That's where we fit in. And you've got purple is market rent housing, and the blue on the far end is market home ownership. So we're kind of in the middle. We are not kind of in the emergency side of things, and we're not in that market system in the same way. So I have this poster at the back as well. We have a table back there with a few things on it. These are all of the buildings that we have at this point. We have some other potential locations and other potential ideas that we're working on with. There's lots of churches that might be interested in building somewhere. There's other people that we're talking with. But yeah, if you see in the bottom, between the two buildings, there's some townhouses. That was our first site on Village Road. We had 16, 18 units there for three bedroom, 2 and 3 bedroom townhouses or duplexes. And that was with the Lutheran Church on Village Road, on West Mountain Village, that had offered this land, and that was our beginning. So right from the beginning, we were already beyond sort of Mennonite, and have worked with many people in different groups, and wanted to move beyond sort of a Mennonite only kind of context. But Mennonite churches do support us well. And at the bottom, 3 buildings you can see to the left is Waterloo Mennonite Homes, a seniors building on George Street in Uptown Waterloo, and Rockaway Gardens Village on the middle right. That is just not too far from here, across from Rockaway Senior Center, beside the Eastwood community, and beside that is 5544 Bridgeport Road. That building is a mixed building of different ages and stages, so we have families, we have 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms there, and so some families, some singles, some couples, seniors. And that project itself is a unique one in that we worked with St. Paul's Lutheran Church, who had a church on that site at the corner of Lancaster and Bridgecourt, and they wanted to create housing on it. So we worked with them. They still have a church on the main floor on the back side of the building, or the back part of the building. And we worked with Parents for Community Living, which provides developmental services. They have a section on the main floor as well that they use for their clients to do programming, like kind of a hall space like this. And then we have apartments above that and a common room as well. That is our particular part of the building. And then we've also worked with Parents for Community Living. A number of the units there are specifically for their clients. And they have 24-hour staffing available there for those clients. So it's a great example. There's other churches and other groups that are interested in this type of model. It is a great way to collaborate with each other and work together as a community. We have a number of houses in Elmira, St. Jacobs, and Wellesley that primarily a lot of them were started because there was a need brought up through the region in terms of Low German, Old Colony Mennonites, large families and nowhere to live in the country and the rural areas. And so we developed some housing there, some we bought, some we built, and some, like St. Jacobs House, is actually the house belongs to St. Jacobs Mennonite Church. And we came into agreement, they weren't using it, and they said we want to make housing available, so we did the renovation, and we have a refugee family from Syria that's lived there for a number of years. We have another house in Kitchener on Mill Street that the region gave to us as a bit of a lottery when they had extra houses near the Joseph Schneider Museum on Mill Street. And so we have a family there that's also a Syrian family that were refugees. And then we have an apartment building in Elmira in the top corner, the yellow building, the Foundry, that is a mixed apartment building as well. And an apartment building in St. Jacobs that Spruce Lawn Apartments for Seniors on the left top that we just completed an addition on, an extra 30 units of housing. So we have quite a broad array of housing for different people and different purposes. We're very open to collaborating with others, and that's going beyond as well. We don't have one set agenda in that, and we try to meet the needs that are out there as best we can. So this is Spruce Lawn in St. Jacobs. We just added, there were 30 units, we added 28 more, or there were 28, we added 30, I can't remember at the moment. That's the front entrance that we built, so the building to the left you can't see much of it is the older building, and the building to the right was all new addition. And so we tried to create lots of nice spaces for tenants to, seniors building again, for tenants to gather and have space that they can use for different things. So that's a picture of the construction, the hollow core concrete layers being added for flooring. So it's quite the thing. We moved people in November, so we're very happy to have new tenants, and a lot of tenants are very happy as well. So for the Spruce Lawn itself, we received money from federal, provincial, municipal contributions, a loan from CMHC, and we have a mortgage as well, and then we're fundraising. So this was actually a bit of an old slide. We had thought it'd be $2 million, but it turned out to be $2.5 million because, especially during the pandemic, prices went up, labor, supplies, all that. So we're, I think, close to the 2.5 million. I think we're at about 2.2 or something like that. I haven't checked with Dan before this, but I think we've need about 300,000 still to finish paying that off, and then it should be sustainable on its own. And then we can move on to another project, and there's always need for that. Yeah, just for context, from CMHC's website, their latest figures from this past, I think it was released in January, but was recorded from October, was the vacancy rate is 2.1% in the region overall. The average two-bedroom is $16.58. That's the average rent, and the vacancy rate for condominiums is like 0.1%. So despite building all these towers and people renting a lot of them out, there actually isn't, and some townhouses and such as well, there isn't that much in the available. As many people will know, the housing market has become very difficult for any demographic to, and any income level to find. Just isn't enough of any, and especially for those with lower incomes. This is a little bit of a dated chart. I don't have the 2023 number, but it would keep going the way it's going. The blue line is the vacancy rate, but the red rate is the growth rate. So there's a lot of people looking for places to live, not a lot availability, which drives the prices up, as we know. Kitchener rental prices, so the average market rent is about $18.50. It might have gone up a bit more since this slide was made, because I think that was about a year ago. But so I think it's up around 2,000 or so now, and that was I think it's about a 10% increase or so from last year. So when you get this exponential growth year over year, it really makes it difficult for people. So we're finding they're still going up. So yeah, on average around 2,000, I think now is where we're at for a one bedroom, and a two bedroom is about 2,400 for the market rent, and the average rent is lower. Yeah, when you look at somebody who's on Ontario Disability Supports, their shelter allowance is $556 for one person, $875 for two people. So that doesn't get you far at all in today's market. So those folks need, whether it's our housing or need like regional housing or creative solutions, living with others, sharing, having a room somewhere with a two bedroom, splitting it with somebody else. But even that, you see, once you get up to $2,000 for a one bedroom, splitting that is still $1,000. Like that's still eating up most of your income. For a senior that might be receiving GIS, and they're kind of a full pension and OAS and gains, GIS, they're getting, if you were to say a third of your income should go to rent, which is kind of a philosophy, a third of their income would be about $620, and for a couple might be $861. So that would be a third, but that's also way below what the costs are these days. So they're having to use a lot of their money that could go towards general living, food, general things they need to do, medications, all that. So this is why we're here and why we've been here. This is a picture of Spruce Lawn, some moving trucks, and one of the first couples to move in, actually the first couple I think, and they came, were just getting all their stuff in there and figuring out what to do next. But yeah, we're very happy for people that they were very happy to move in and have a place. Their landlord was selling, and they were paying a good price because they'd been there a long time, and all of a sudden their landlord's selling. And so because of some other challenges, they worked and had decent incomes, and yet they still were in a place where some of their investments didn't go well, where he's actually still able to work some, and so he's doing that in his 70s. But this has allowed them a lot more freedom to live more comfortably. They were paying about $1,000 or something in their existing rental when they got moved out. They ended up somewhere further away. That was almost $2,000, and now they're renting a 2-bedroom, so it's about $1,400. So some of these aren't the cheapest, but it's plus hydro, but they're still well below what you'd pay in the market for a 2-bedroom. Our 1-bedrooms are more in the range of $700 to $1,000 plus hydro, depending on the building and the location and what we've been able to fund. This is another tenant and their friend that moved in. Their tenant rolled out the red carpet for them to move in. So we've had tenants that one tenant lived in a retirement home that was kind of in an old house that was a private retirement home that was had lost kind of its license to exist because they weren't taking care of people well, as far as providing food and providing other care. And so we were able to house one person that was in that situation that we know of that really needed a place. And they were hesitant to leave because they had good friends there and they didn't want to leave them behind, but they were renting, essentially giving all their money to this home that was supposed to be taking care of them and wasn't doing a great job. But so now they have an affordable place and a very comfortable place, new place to live in, so they're very content as well. Another project, we do a lot of things that come up. A volunteer, Shirley Lichty, came in and said, I want to do a project, and I've got an idea, I've seen it, heard of it in Britain, and so volunteered Danby, which makes refrigerators, freezers, Foodland, the Culinary Studio, which does cooking classes, and our community support worker and tenants came together, and the Freezer Meal Project was born. So Danby donated a fridge to those that were tenants that were participating, or a freezer to those that were participating, a small deep freeze. The Foodland donated food. The Culinary Studio provided lessons on cooking and a kind of workshop on how to manage food well, get to buy healthy things affordably. So yeah, simple, easy, healthy, affordable food. So they had a number, I think it was 12 sessions doing that. And a lot was gained from that. People were able to make meals and freeze them when they're single. They'd still have good food to eat going forward. And they were able to share with others. And felt very good about the end results. So just coming to the end, this is our Outspoken Bike-a-thon for affordable housing. We have it June 8th in Elmira usually, and get a nice bike ride in the country along the trails and the roads there, and raise money for us. And we have some really good donors and really good people that have been biking for years and really support finding those donations and coming out and having a good time. So Martin Buer, who was the real founder of Meadow Homes, he's turning 85 and he likes to bike. So he is biking 850 kilometers between January and June to raise over $85,000. This is his goal. He's very ambitious. in many ways, and so he's asking people, oh, it didn't come up, he's asking people to make a donation in multiples of $85, $850, $8,500 in his honor for his 85th birthday. And the website didn't pop up, but it's on CanadaHelps.org. It's a charity website, CanadaHelps.org. And if you look up charities, Menno Homes, it'll come up as Menno Homes Inc. And Martin's 85th. And you would be able to donate to that. He wanted to get that pitch in. And so thank you. I don't know if I took too long, but there's lots to say, and I appreciate your ears, and I'd entertain any questions if you had some.
Is there a waiting list?
Yes, so our buildings, for the most part, have waiting lists of about, it could be 3 to 5 years, honestly. Yeah, unfortunately, there's just the demand keeps growing, and everybody's looking these days, so it is fairly lengthy, yeah.
What's the criteria, or is there an agency you have to sort of go through?
Right, so one thing is we also have some units that are dedicated. We've collaborated with the Region of Waterloo Community Housing Access Center, so people that are on that wait list can check off buildings that we own, and there are some units in those buildings dedicated to that, and that's at even greater rates, like so their rent might be about $500 a month because of the type of subsidy that's offered through that. Generally, we're considered below average market rent, so we're trying to be at least kind of 80% of market rent or below, and so that's our market. In terms of applying, there's if you go onto our website and you click on the particular buildings, our properties, then each property will have information about it, and you can see we have a few different property managers, Dubrick Property Management and Satellite Community Homes, and then some that I manage or that get managed through Beyond Housing. And so each one kind of has a way that to get onto the list that way. And then some of the houses are through myself, and some of the larger properties are through the managers. Yeah.
Beyond Housing was founded over 20 years ago with a mission to create affordable and sustainable housing for people in Waterloo Region.
We have a philosophy of helping people find a good living space, not just a house, not just a place to live, but a home.
Over the past 2 decades, Beyond Housing has built hundreds of rental dwellings.
We have families, we have seniors, we have single-parent households. The entire spectrum of the population would be eligible to call our housing their home.
It's one of the best volunteer experiences I've had, and that has to do with people you get to work with, and also just seeing what happens when people have affordable, safe housing and how it can transform people's lives.
Affordable housing is one of the 1, 2, or 3 critical social problems in any growing community.
The more successful we become as a community, the more expensive our services, our land, our products, everything else becomes.
Just think about it. If you had to spend 50% of your income on rent, how would that affect the money you have for food, for your children, to buy medicine?
But Beyond Housing doesn't just build sustainable projects, it supports the people who live there to help ensure they can thrive.
We support people in making this home a good home for them, helping tenants to get to know one another, helping tenants to navigate other systems, figure out how to get their address changed. If they're having trouble with any of the other supports, how do we navigate the systems within Waterloo Region?
There's this approach of understanding and building for the needs of the people who are actually going to be using the space.
What it takes is creativity and courage and willingness to think outside the box.
What we have to do is meet people where they're at, so they gain self-confidence, self-assurance, and are able to make lives better.
I like to use the word thrive, and I think what we're doing here is we're providing that environment for the tenants so that they can be rooted and then grow.
The more that this can happen in our community and in every community, the stronger we will all be.
You can be part of the solution.
To donate or volunteer, please reach out to Beyond Housing at www.beyondhousing.ca.